In this video, I'm going to be going over the frustratingly difficult thumping section from Backpfeifengesicht by Animals as Leaders. Quickly, before we get going, I have the PDF of what we are covering in this video down in the description below, so feel free to download that before we get going. And for my Patreon supporters, you will also get the guitar profile, as well as my Abasi preset tone to get you going on a thump tone that will fit in this song. So with that out of the way, let's get into a new segment that I like to call, What the F is Going On? So put your guitar down for a second. Before we even talk about the thumping technique to play this riff, we have to talk about what the F is going on rhythmically and understand how it breaks down. So I want to simply sing you the rhythm that this riff is based around. So to start, here it is once. Sounds like this. Bugga dugga da da dugga da da. That's it. Very simple. I'm going to do it 4 times now, and no joke, do this along with me. If you want to learn this riff, it is a good idea to get the sound in your head. So I'm going to do it 4 times here. Follow along. Dugga dugga da da dugga da da. 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 Okay, so hopefully that is getting caught in your brain and you can repeat that by yourself. So as we did it, there was a little bit of a pause in between each repetition. Bugga dugga da da dugga da da rest. Bugga dugga da da dugga da da rest. In the actual riff itself, there is no rest there. So we're going to do it 4 times again. And again, clap with me. This is going to be essential for understanding how this riff sounds before we actually get into thumping it. So leave out that rest. It'll sound like this 4 times. Dugga dugga da da dugga da da dugga dugga da da dugga da da dugga dugga da da dugga da da dugga dugga da da dugga da da. Okay. So that is most of the riff. You're 95% of the way there already. That's what it sounds like. We have just slowed it down to an incredibly slow speed compared to what it is when we execute it. So now we want to understand how long is that grouping of notes. Let's count it. Dugga dugga da da dugga da da. So we counted 4 and 3 together is 7. Dugga dugga da da dugga da da dugga dugga da da dugga da da. So we're doing 7s over and over and over. Now, 7 what? Well, the subdivision I'm tapping here are 16th notes. So that should give you an idea of how fast this actually goes when we get it up to speed. But for now, we'll keep it nice and slow so we can hear what's going on. 7 plus 7 plus 7 plus 7 is 28. We know that in 2 measures, there should be 32 16th notes. So we're missing 4 16th notes. So where do those 4 16th notes go? Well, after we repeat that pattern 4 times, we have to fill in that last beat of 4 16th notes, and that is what brings us to the second part of this riff, the last 5%, which is just a bop, 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 bop. Just 4 beats, low, high, low, low. Okay? So, the whole thing all together, nice and slow. Again, sing it with me. It might feel dumb, but I promise this will help. We'll go like this. 3, 4. Dugga dugga da da dugga da da 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 da. And that's it. That's the riff. We can visualize that first section of rhythm, the 7, like this, when we take into account the low and the high. And we can visualize that second little bit like this, also taking into account which notes are low and which ones are high. With stems, in full notation, it looks like this. So now that the rhythm is hopefully stuck in your head and you know what it's supposed to sound like, let's grab your guitar and we're going to figure out how to actually thump this. So before we actually talk about the right hand fingering, let's talk about 2 things. One is the left hand positioning, and that positioning is going to be kind of around the 8th fret. I like to spread my fingers out a little bit, so it's kind of between 6 and fret 8. You can also play around with this and go up to fret 9 or spread them out a little more. What we're looking for is a little bit of that kind of high edge harmonic, while it also outlines the pitches of the other guitar in the riff. So play around with the positioning. Most of the tone can be achieved with this left hand and where you put it, but some of that secret sauce, the juice, comes from the compressor that Toastin is using, as well as the EQ and the mixing process and the mastering process as well. So you won't get it quite perfect, but you can get pretty close. The other thing before we get going is we have to talk about the tuning. So the tuning for this song is drop D in string 6 and drop E in string 8. So the low 4 strings sound like this. You have a low E, B, D, and then A, continuing on with normal tuning. So that is what also helps outline those pitches. Okay, let's talk about the right hand now. We're going to take the first section of the group of 7 that we looked at, the dugga dugga dat da dugga dat da, but we're only going to do that first little piece, so dugga dugga dat da. So what we're going to be doing is down, up, I, am, A, down. You can see it on the PDF if you need to slow down and check that out further. But the thing to note here is that the A finger is being split to a new string. So what that's going to look like is everything on string 6 to start, down, up, I, am, but then that A finger hits string 5. And then we go back to string 6. After you achieve that first little piece, the end of it, the dugga dugga dat da bugga dat da, that little piece is just a down, up, I, down. The I is again on string 5. So we have 2 notes now on string 5. 6, 6, 5, 6. Those are the strings. So let's put that whole thing together. Starting on string 6. Hopefully you can hear those higher notes, and remember that the A finger in the first grouping plays the higher note on string 5, and the I finger in the second grouping does. All we're going to do now is take that same pattern and move it down by 1 set of strings, so down being to the lower, thicker strings. We're going to move down again to the last set now. And then with that, we repeat it. From there, we do our group of 4. Again, it's just down, up, I, down. Again, it's on the lowest set of strings, just straight 16th notes. Whole thing now, nice and slow. That's the riff. If you're looking to do the little introduction into the main riff as well, all that happens is we do the first set of 7 twice. And then we start the main riff. To make sure it all lines up on the downbeat, those first 2 groups of 7 start on the and of 1. Okay, let's talk about practicing this. This took me a few months to get down. Straight up, I'll let you know that this is a very, very difficult riff to learn if you've never had to do crazy speed bursts like this before, or do these weird finger splits between your A and the rest of your fingers. In those few months of practice, I started at about 50 beats per minute. Right, those first few notes are 30-second notes, so very slowly. Just working on accuracy. Trying to stay loose. No tension in my neck and the arm. Trying to keep a nice smooth wrist. But mostly the accuracy and just getting that pattern into my fingers. It takes a while for it to become comfortable. Once that happened, then I could start progressing the speed. But there is never a jump in tempo. So I want to make that very clear to people if you're looking just to hopefully get the riff at like 50, 60 beats per minute and then jump up to like 100 to get it close to the actual tempo. Not going to happen probably. You're going to need to work every single beat per minute up incrementally. Just like a weightlifter doesn't go to the gym one day and can lift 50 pounds heavier, you're going to have to progress slowly and very linearly through this. So one other thing to note with the tempos is I found around 100 beats per minute, things started to smooth out and it felt a little more fluid. Alright, it starts to actually sound like the song. around 100. You gotta be careful though not to try and rush the ending. From 100 to 125 was the most difficult part of this riff to achieve. Now the first 40 beats per minute didn't take that long, I don't think. They progressed pretty linearly, meaning that it took about the same amount of time to get from 50 beats per minute to 70 beats per minute, and 70 to 80, 80 to 90, 90 to 100. Once I got to 100, I hit a bit of a wall. So if this happens to you, don't be surprised by it. After 100, things get hard because we have to start focusing on grouping the movements into these larger fluid movements and not worrying so much about the individual fingers. So rather than thinking ba-da-da-da-da-da, we're thinking ra-ba-ba-ra-ba. And we have to emulate that sound and that feeling in the wrist motion. So we're thinking more like a wrist shot, I guess, if you're playing hockey instead of a slap shot, or kind of the individual intricacies of deking and playing with the puck. We're just thinking of one fluid motion with all the fingers. And that's going to be a whole other level of practice with this riff. Hit another wall around 115 beats per minute. That last 10 took me about half of the time that I practiced this riff, so about a month to a month and a half. So don't be discouraged if you do hit some walls. Don't be afraid to take some breaks from this riff, step away for a while, come back to it, do some other thumping, do some other techniques. Like I said, this one's a hard one. Briefly touching on tone, you're going to want a pretty clean thumping tone. You want good compression. You're going to want not very much low end, quite a bit of mids and trebles to get that kind of high harmonic out of the string when you play it. But other than that, the thumping tone doesn't differ much from other thumping tones. Just dial back the gain to get it nice and clean and crisp. Again, for my Patreon subscribers, if you have the Avasi archetype by Neural DSP, then you will have access to my preset that I've been using to practice this riff. So that is going to be about it for today's video. That is the 10 seconds of music that I've spent the last 3 to 4 months of my life working on. Now I can move on. Hopefully these tips help you get it down a little quicker than I was able to. And yeah, let me know what other riffs and what things you're looking to learn on your 8-string guitar in the comments down below. Give me some ideas for future videos. I'll see you in the Discord if you're not already there. We have some interesting discussion and some awesome people who are sharing all their knowledge. Link for that can be found in the description. But other than that, I hope you have a great rest of your day wherever you are in the world. And as always, happy practicing.